Hello everyone, I'm Piepatch and welcome back to our life, beginnings and always. Let's see, what happened in the last episode? We went into town with Cove and I got a cute crab and there were dolphin balloons, and then we played some games back at home and things didn't go great. But I believe where we're continuing from, we're going on to our next little mini story arc. I think, let's have a look. Yeah, so we did shopping and grown up last time. And so we've got 3 left to go. There's also DLC, which I might do eventually, but not now. I think I'm happy to continue going in order, so we might have a look at Long Day today. There's no point in delaying, so let's just get along with it. Ooh, here we go. Okay. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished 1 cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and this is the one I remember. I believe I pronounced his name wrong incorrectly in the first episode, so I'm going to try and get it right now. I believe it's Shiloh. You know what? Actually, I'm going to double check that. Yeah, that's correct. It's Shiloh. Cool. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since COVID arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel... nothing really. I think I feel pleased about it. You might not be in double digits like your sister, but he was only 7. Being the oldest and getting to be the leader was a nice change of pace. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet, something like an icy bowl? An ice cream, an ice cream sandwich. You craved soft ice cream sandwich between 2 cookies. It's good, you just can't beat it. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look, your mums didn't keep sweets in the house. Oh my god, you poor child. Outside there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. Indeed, that is usually how it goes. You sighed, you voiced your predicament aloud, you asked Shiloh for help. You know what? Hey, let's see what he thinks. Oh, that's not what I meant. Okay. Shiloh, do you have any money? How did I do his voice again? Let me check. That was easy. You felt like you should tell him why you were asking. Thanks, I want an ice cream sandwich, but my mums don't keep any here. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus 1 stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. Yeah, let's be positive. It's a start. Shiloh beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The 2 of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevasses in the sofa and under furniture and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs. But every so often you would strike silver or bronze and add it to your growing pile of coins. Dusty and dishevelled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the 2 of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer, but you appreciated him recognizing your authority on financial and ice cream matters. You straightened up before making your pronouncement. Yeah, we've got enough. You could now afford something at the shops. Just 1 thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! Shiloh's such a cutie. I love your grey eyes. They're very cool, and very nice freckles. The 2 of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you on to your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to the treat to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Aw, what a sweetie. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? You tried to get something you both wanted anyway, yeah. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them. They're all good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice cream? Which is your favorite? Oh, it's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Yeah! And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You bit the ice cream sandwich. The chewy chocolate biscuit complemented the creamy vanilla ice cream inside. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head.
You can finish it.
Oh, you could finish it. He didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird. I don't want to force him, but
It's okay.
Oh, it's okay, Patch. You want it more than I do, and I'm really happy that we have got to play it today already. You finish it. Well, it wasn't worth arguing further. The frozen treat was being worn away by the sun and starting to trickle dangerously towards your fingers. If you waited much longer, then neither of you would get to eat it. Alright, thanks. The two of you began to head back home as you ate. You offered the treat more to Shiloh, but he refused again. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard that notification, but hey, maybe I should have silenced them. Whoops. What can you do? Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was too afraid to. Let's see. I figured it was his I care. Maybe he's scared of me. I'm gonna ask if we're friends. Are we friends? Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. Yeah, I think so. He says that, but friends should be able to talk to each other without being scared. If Shiloh wouldn't do that, were you even really friends at all? He rubbed his hands together nervously over your non-reaction. I'm sorry. You weren't sure how sorry he could be without knowing what he's even apologizing for, but you shook your head. You didn't do anything. It was true. Shiloh hadn't done something mean. He'd gone out of his way to make you happy, but that didn't seem like it should be a bad thing, yet it bothered you. I just don't know if you like me. It's like it doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody and you wouldn't care. Oh my gosh, these are some very deep thoughts for an 8-year-old. No, I like you. I really like you, Patch. I want to be friends. Okay. You smiled hesitantly at him, and his fidgeting ceased. Even though you weren't sure if you believed him, this was only making things worse. You decided that maybe there were all types of friends. If Shiloh wasn't able to do things differently, this would have to be alright. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them, just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. Oh no. Oh my gosh, he looks so sad. Your mouth matches your eyebrows. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you defended Cove, took a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble. Carefully asked what happens, because she doesn't look too happy either. We don't know what's going on. Without a time machine, the only way you're going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been wrong in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? Patch, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mum struggled to find anything nice to say about them. The elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. It didn't matter if they were really nice like Cove. Wait, did I read that right? Well, it's gone now, I guess. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at all. Oh my goodness, my reading is gone. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No, I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Lizzie. Cove glared but didn't take the bait. Good. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? Yeah, cluck cluck. You'd rather just avoid them. You thought they deserved worse. I'll do it. I don't want to... No. But also I am a chicken, yes. You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors lurked two beings, rich in years but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation. Maybe they didn't. But that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay far away from them, especially since Cove took their outbursts to heart. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now. If we're chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. Damn, Cove. Really spilling it out there. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain, chicken. The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. What are you old kids doing loitering outside my house? Or maybe he was just always in a terrible mood. Nothing. He repeated the words as if it was the greatest crime anyone could commit. Nothing good, more like. Get lost. Damn, old man savage. It wasn't as if he opened the space outside the house. It wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cove's eyes, still red from his earlier tears, were wide, and he thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off, with Shiloh immediately trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. Oh, pretty. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin. Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be a second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came back around. It always went like that. And it was fine, you thought. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. It was always annoying. Like, he's allowed to have other friends. I think it's okay. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. There were other things to attend to anyway. You wriggled closer to Cove. He had calmed down for the most part and was inspecting a flower, his fingers pinching the stem and tilted the white petals towards him. That's a poppy. Clove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower. And the type of poppies on this hill have the name white lily poppy. White linen poppy, sorry, Mum told me. He quirked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger around the edge of the petals. It doesn't feel like cloth. You'd need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. Oh my god, so many options. They're like going off the screen. Okay. Oh, so we get to pick our favorite? I really like sunflowers, actually. I love sunflowers. Yeah, those are nice too. They're bright and awesome. You match with them. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. What a happy smile. Thanks. Oh, that's such a nice drawing. His hair is so cool. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca, you saw a smiley face, you saw cloud shapes. I think a dolphin. Yeah, it's kind of homage to our last little adventure. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Look, a dolphin. Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Yeah, I see it. Really? No, but I like dolphins. Hey. He chuckled. Oh, sorry, that's a hey. He chuckled at your reaction. Oh. Wait, do I see anything? Oh, dang it. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too, were too tired to argue, were happy to do what the others wanted, objected to the plan. I think I'll go. Yeah, I haven't been to the beach at night. I think ever, actually, thinking about it, so that'll be fun. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. A sandcastle. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour, abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. Oh, my friends! This is so nice. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean, with shampoo and everything. I feel like that wouldn't work too well, bud. That would be bad for the fish.
Gee.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It'd hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mummy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does.
Don't you know we're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about?
You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed up by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your mums. Oh, buddy.
It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Patch. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms, I just have one. She's really great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I only have one too. My mum isn't here, she's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
Oh, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mum is gone.
Cove nodded. He joked about Shiloh's mum getting...
Nah.
Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Cove couldn't muster a response. Oh, buddy. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. Yeah, let's go for it. You were already too dirty and wet for comfort. Nothing that happened there would feel as good as getting dry. You got out of the water before any— Oh, sorry! Oh no, I meant I wanted to retaliate. Whoops. Ah, well. Perching on a rock, you scraped the wet sand from your legs as you watched the others. I think I misinterpreted that. The sand came away in thick clumps at first, like clay, but where it had been thinner, it had already dried and clung to your skin. Cove and Lizzie were relentless, while Shiloh mostly just dodged.
Ah!
Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh no, buddy! Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain. As you all hurried over to check on him, his hair was plastered to his head and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it.
That was crazy. Are you okay?
Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
Way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo.
I'll give him a hand. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Oh. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh, too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Ah, sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shiloh could do something like that on purpose and pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favourite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Ah! Your mums were outside, chatting to Cove's dad.
We're back!
Your mums' faces fell as they took in the state you're all in. Ranging? Ranging. Oh, okay. That was stupid. Okay, don't. Yeah.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. Okay. You've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. That a boy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand just fully picking him up. I don't know why, just because I've become so close to these characters, just the idea of Cove being just fully picked up off the ground is very funny. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Pyework family, and Shiloh too. Resigned to his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. Smiling, you waved back. Good night.
Fine.
Well, we'd better do what we can to fix you guys up. Come on inside, everybody. I want you to march straight up to the downstairs bathroom. Yup. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's Bob. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mummy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mum's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience singing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she'd hoped. This was a no fun allowed clean-up session, at least that's what she'd claimed. Not much longer, and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Oh, that was lovely. Sorry if I'm having a bad reading day, apparently, so sorry about all my stumbling. That was really fun, though. It was super sweet. I think that one was my favorite one so far. I'm gonna have a quick drink of water. And so I've got 2 more left to go. I imagine, because we had the kind of beginning setup scene at the beginning of Act 1. So I imagine, geez Louise, we might have another one of those at the beginning of Act 2 after we've done all these steps. So I think I might do one more today, and then next time we'll do fireflies in the beginning of the next one. So let's go with Sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When him and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. That does suck, bud. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering and blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mum and dad. But now he was here, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad, it had all your favourite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you'd been pondering. I wish I could go in.
The water?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon.
Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough.
It's so pretty, the ocean.
And huge. There could be anything out there. Like mermaids. Yeah, mermaids. So cool. I love mermaids.
Yeah.
I wish you didn't have a cast. I don't really care. Swimming could be fun. Swimming might be fun if we could. I'm fine here on the... Look, let's be sympathetic. I think that's what I'm aiming for here. Me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation. Oh, sorry, Cove. Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle?
Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening.
Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before.
It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away.
Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff. I've never really made one before. There's nothing else to do. I love making sand stuff.
Okay.
He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded.
I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started.
Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have a humble structures prepared.
That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, cover a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine is like a real castle. Cool, this is gonna be a house.
Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a mansion, just to be different, you know. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to do what Lizzie would do and design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a... Ooh, I like the sea glass. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly, so you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result? Is that where it'd take a second look to see it? Is that trying to make an excuse for it not being in the artwork? Which, hey, fair. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. I want to look at Cove's sandcastle. The castle Cove had built looked surprisingly tidy, especially for someone in a cast. He must have worked really hard on it. He wasn't even finished digging the huge gaping moat in front, but it was already enormous. You got the sense from the enthusiasm he was digging with that the doctor was probably going to find a bunch of sand when he finally removed the pink plaster. God, that's going to be so uncomfortable having sand under a cast. Ugh. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney.
Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
It's good. That's smart.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I guess I don't see it. You should be an architect. Kinda looks more like... You should be an architect.
You'd be good at it, Shiloh.
Shiloh smiled without a word, and that was that for the current topic. Patch, can I see what you did?
Sure.
He scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you'd gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at, compared to Cove and Shiloh's buildings, probably even bigger. Charlie quickly decided to jump in on the new conversation.
Hey, Patch, what did you do?
This is my mansion. Cove scowled for a moment. Apparently the anger was actually still there after his argument with Lizzie more than a week ago.
It looks great. Your house is so big.
It's not a big house, it's fine. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Jeez Louise, he really doesn't like Lizzie, does he? I don't think that's the same as a house.
Huh? Is being a house bad?
No, but we each made our own place. Nobody's the same.
I think we are.
Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special.
Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff.
People too. My dad always says how everybody's their own man, a real individual.
I don't think I'm very special.
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head.
I'm not different.
A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. Oh, he didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your mums met my dad, Patch? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled away from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. Oh.
I don't think my mum has met your dad.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Patch's parents and my dad met the same day I met them. I'm gonna say what happened? Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. Oh, buddy. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. I think Shiloh wants to talk too. Huh? Oh, Cove, come on, bud. Huh? We were talking, just not right now. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. Cove continued like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. When we moved here, he didn't bring a lot of things with us, only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. When I saw your mums, they were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said, I couldn't hear, but he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way, so I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we met for the first time. Ah, I see. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you gonna finish your story? Cove's brows wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Why did you want to tell Thanks for telling me. You felt like sharing. You're welcome. Even if not much happened, you weren't going to complain about knowing the story. Shiloh's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up, anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders. I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first, before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows shifted a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh?
Yeah?
Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included into the conversation again.
I don't know, I guess.
Cove! You can be a bit of a douche sometimes, buddy. Okay, it's kind of weird. Jello's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Oh, maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer.
Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad begging Patch's family some more because you don't even have anyone else who'll ever play with you.
Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you had never known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too, I was just wondering. I kind of want to say something, but yikes. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build more? You nervously messed with the sand. I'm gonna nervously mess with the sand. It just feels like the right thing to do in the moment. You picked up some sand and turned it over in your hands. There didn't seem to be much you could do to stop the fight, and you weren't sure what to do with yourself. Cove looked over at what you were doing and started building his own set of walls. Shiloh took a deep breath before kneeling back down to his own patch of sand. It seemed they both decided to try playing again. You were glad for that. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mum appeared at the beach to take him home. Will we get to see her? Cove and Shiloh had mostly followed your lead and barely said a word. His mum standing behind him, even Shiloh's goodbye had been quiet. Friendly, cheerful, but noticeably quiet. Okay. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together toward the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. I'll ask him. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask. Hey, Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face. I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that? When I said he was all red a lot. You're being rude. Oh, he's just being a baby. Yikes. You shouldn't make fun of him. I don't know, it's just Shiloh. He gets embarrassed. I think he gets embarrassed. But you were being rude to him. I don't know. Because you were kind of being rude to him before. You kept cutting him off. You shouldn't make fun of him, but he wasn't trying to make fun, but he was being rude. I'm just gonna do it. I hope it gets a good the right reaction, but yikes. Oh, well, okay. No, I wasn't. It looked like that to me, and it wasn't just saying that one thing. You're not very nice to Shiloh. I didn't mean it like that. Shiloh is just kind of weird to talk to. See? That's kind of rude. I guess. I can get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Co's mood was still sour. Hey, Patch? Was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your mums about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. He didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden. I mean, look. His dad did offer the money, but I didn't accept it. I'm still hanging out with him because I wanted to. I don't think, but it's tough because no one is making me spend time with him, but also though that's the truth, if I say that, it's going to seem like Shiloh is lying, and technically he wasn't. His dad did offer me money, but I didn't take it. Oh, honesty is the best policy, hell. Well, remember how you talked about how your parents met and I didn't know what happened? Yeah? I kind of had something happen that you don't know about when I met your dad. As you struggled to find the right words, Cove looked at you passively. You wanted to turn away, but you kept your eyes on his as you spoke. I was walking home and your dad was sitting in the front of the house. It must have been after you ran away. My mums weren't there either. I think they were looking for you. Your dad saw me. He got up and came over. Mr. Holden told me that he had just moved into the house next to mine. Cove was still listening, his expression as plain as before. You paused for a moment, wondering if you should really keep going. This feels... I can't back out now. Even if it was supposed to be a secret, you thought Cove should still know. Your dad thought you might be lonely here, so he wanted me to be your friend. He said he'd give me $20 if I did. Cove was so still, you thought he hadn't heard you. Then his eyes widened. His mouth fell open, but no sound left him. Silence stretched between you, so tense that it was almost tangible. You shifted from one foot to the other, and your hands tensed up. Please say something. Oh, no! Instead of speaking, he closed his mouth, his eyebrows bent up, crinkling his forehead. He looked more sad than surprised now. He was going to cry, you were certain of it. I didn't take it. The money, I didn't want it, honest. Cove raised his hands and brought them up under his glasses, his fingertips pressed over his eyes, hiding them from your sight. Then right in the middle of the street, the tears began to fall. His shoulders shook with the force of his sobs. You could glimpse wetness through the cracks of his fingers, slipping down his cheeks. Cove, it's okay. I'm going to touch his shoulder, I think. Awkwardly, you reached over and rested a hand on his shoulder, but Cove shook his body from side to side, rejecting your presence.
No.
Oh, go away! You flinched at the shout. As you stood there listening to him cry, you felt bad about everything. No, I don't regret it. He needs to know. But I'm worried for him. You didn't want Cove to be this upset. You just wanted to be honest. Cove continued to weep, with his face covered by his hands. Worse, his voice raised in volume. You were frozen in place. The situation was awful, and you kept feeling worse every second. You spoke earnestly. It was all you could do, and it wasn't enough. You heard a door opening and you flinched, expecting to see one of the mean old grandparents preparing themselves to yell at you. At this hour, most people went around, either because they were working or down in the town, but the grandparents rarely left the house, except to complain at children making noise in the street. You didn't want Cove to have to deal with that right now. You tried to come up with something you could do for him, for the situation, for anything. But the door that stood open now didn't belong to the grandparents. To your utter surprise and relief, it was Cove's own. His dad was already home. Oh no. Oh gosh. As he peeked outside his door, Mr. Holden momentarily looked unsure. Perhaps he had suspicions on the noise outside, but wasn't entirely positive, though a kid crying is pretty distinct, and there aren't a lot of kids. Maybe he didn't want to believe something might be wrong with his son. His face fell as he spotted the source of the commotion. It was pained, and it was scared, and it reminded you of the one he'd worn the first night you'd met Cove. Mr. Holden didn't go down the steps in front of his house. He just jumped right over them and stumbled into a run. He skidded to a stop before Cove, bent down on one knee, then solidly cupped Cove's teary face with his hands.
What's wrong?
Oh. What's wrong? Are you hurt anywhere? Cove continued to cry, unable or unwilling to cough out an explanation. Not taking his hands from Cove, Mr. Holden turned to you for an explanation, his eyes wide and imploring. He was asking if you made me hang out with him. You did, so I told Cove how you wanted to give me money to be his friend. As you spoke, Mr. Holden's chest rose, while he inhaled a deep, shaky breath, culminating in a gasp at your final words.
What?
Why? Why would you? He clamped his mouth shut, shaking his head. He faced his crying son again. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have done something like that in the first place. He cast his eyes down, sighing. When he next spoke, it wasn't part of conversation anymore. It was barely loud enough for you to catch his words. Patch is only a kid. Tears were still streaming down Cove's face. Smiling sadly, Mr. Holden wiped Cove's cheeks with a thumb. He furrowed his brows and looked at the ground. When he glanced up, his mouth was set with determination. Mr. Holden finally took his hands off Cove. He reached for his wallet, confused. He stared at him, the little rectangle that all adults seem to carry in some shape or form. What's happening? It had been the source of all these problems. You were sure that Cove wouldn't want to be reminded of that right now. Mr. Holden was clearly of a different mind to you. He inexplicably retrieved another $20 bill, rolled it up, and raised it to Cove's face. Cove's eyes were hidden behind tightly clamped fingers, so Mr. Holden poked Cove's nose with the bill. Cove peeked between his hands and grunted as he saw what he'd been prodded with. Even if it was surrounded by sobs, you were glad that something else had finally left Cove's mouth.
Come on.
Oh, don't bribe him to stop crying. Are you kidding me? No.
Hey, Cove, can you stop crying? I'll give you this cash if you do. Ugh. Cove dropped his hands from his face. It had already been red and wet with tears, but now his features were scrunched up in a scowl. Not for the first time, you questioned Mr. Holden's tactics. He had to use two hands, but Cove firmly shoved his dad's own hand away. But Mr. Holden just chuckled at Cove's reaction and tossed the money aside. It unfurled as it flew through the air, rising before slowly drifting to the floor. Aww. Mr. Holden took Cove's outstretched wrists and lowered them to Cove's side, stopping him from hiding his face once again. Cove's dad clearly wasn't going to let go. Huffing, Cove turned his whole head away, tears continuing to roll down his cheeks as he glowered at the ground. You can buy a lot of cool things with that, but it can't do everything, can it? Cove didn't respond. Not even to look at his father, Mr. Holden continued. Your old dad likes to make things nice for you with the money he earns, but you're smart. You know that I haven't really done anything.
I'm sorry.
Oh. I still make you upset, you sad and upset, just like right now. I'm sorry. Cove sniffed, the harsh line of his brow mellowing. Mr. Holden squeezed Cove's hands as he continued. Oh. Patch is smart too, right? Mr. Holden spoke in a soft, encouraging tone, and Cove continued to calm. You have nothing to worry about. Except for me, Mr. Holden chuckled. Cove pressed his lips together, mulling over his father's words, though the stream of tears had eased, drops still budded in his eyes and threatened to spill out. I love you, son, so much, more than anybody else. Sometimes that makes me a little too hasty to see you happy, and I make it all worse. I really am sorry. That's nice. Scrunching his eyes tight, Cove nodded. When his eyes opened again, they were red and glossy, but there were no tears left on the precipice of his lower lashes. Aside from the occasional sniff, he was mostly back to his usual self. He swallowed. Okay. Though Cove had refused to echo Mr. Holden's exact words, the sentiment seemed to be enough for his dad. He moved his hands up under Cove's armpits and hoisted Cove high into the air with a grin. Cove's hands flew to his glasses, holding them back from falling off. Cove's lips were shut tight, all betrayed by the telltale smile in his eyes that he was trying hard to hide. Mr. Holden laughed, lowering Cove so that he was securely pinned against his chest. Cove looked away, face angled to the ground. Now that his dad could no longer see him, he was allowing himself to smile. Mr. Holden might have missed it, but you didn't. Cove wriggled, pushing a hand against his dad's shoulders. Can I go back now? Yeah. Mr. Holden set Cove gently to the ground, waiting until his feet found their footing before releasing him entirely. I have to do something. Wait here. As Cove wandered away, Mr. Holden's gaze stuck to him like glue. You sighed, eyes downcast. You felt weird that you'd only been able to stand there while the event unfolded. You weren't able to fix it. I couldn't make him feel better. Don't worry about it. Please, we don't need another tragedy today. He winked and you weren't impressed. Hey, I mean that. The first part, anyway. There's only so much you can do to try fixing someone else's mistake. He smiled sincerely at you. You've done plenty for Cove. Just the fact that you were honest with him when his own dad wasn't proves it. That's a relief. Thanks for being such a good kid. I hope you'll keep spending time with the boy. The boy, ugh. As though the sound of his name surrounds... You didn't say the boy! You didn't say his name, you said the boy. Cove returned, clutching the bill his dad had cast aside earlier. You cocked your head and Cove's dad raised his eyebrows. Cove looked at the crumpled note, then walked over and held it out to you. I stopped crying, but I don't want this. You can have it. He gave you a small smile. Behind him, Mr. Holden was still watching Cove closely, clearly relieved. You shared the feeling. Cove was making peace with the deal that had happened behind his back. No, it's still not mine. Shaking your head, you pushed the note back to Cove. I don't need it. But I don't want it. You're at a stalemate. Mr. Holden hummed thoughtfully, tapping his head. He gazed up at the wide sky as he pretended to give the conundrum serious consideration. I know. He plucked the bill from Cove and tore... Okay. That's not what I was expecting. I thought you were just going to take it. You and Cove gasped in unison. Dad! You can't do anything with it now. True, it won't work at the store like this, but now you can split it. Actually, that is nice. Crouching down, he held out the pieces to you and Cove. You both looked at the two halves. Neither of you reached for them. It still has value, as a keepsake, a memory, and that's one of the most valuable things you can use money on. That sounds pretty good, huh? Maybe I'm getting smarter. No, you're a dumbass. Wordlessly, Cove stretched out a hand and took his half. You took yours, running a finger along the jagged edge of the bill. It was cool to think that no other note would share this exact same feature, the precise peaks and troughs of the tear, except for Cove's, which would bear them in reverse. It did feel like there was value left in it. Mr. Holden stood up. I got an achievement unlocked. The deal. Mr. Holden stood up, stretching his arms out casually. Well then, it's about time for dinner. Voice. Well then, it's about time for dinner. Me and the Rugrat need to get going. You probably should too. I bet your moms want to see you. All right. Bye.
Thanks very much.
You have a good night. And thanks, Patch. Father and son waved at you as you turned and dashed back home. The note clenched tightly in your hand. You felt lighter. Oh, that one was nice. A bit of a roller coaster, but nice. I reckon secrets like that you shouldn't keep. I believe one way or another, eventually it will get out. So it's better to just be honest with it as soon as possible, because the more time the secret is kept, the more painful it's going to be when it's revealed. Even if it's like uncomfortable at the beginning, it's much better than keeping it secret and having it revealed later. And their relationship, I think, will now be stronger for knowing that honesty was there. No, I'm happy with that decision, and I'm happy with this episode. Next time we'll continue on with fireflies, and then hopefully get into the next chapter, which will be very exciting. We'll have one chapter down, and then the summer will end. I'm so excited to see what everyone's gonna look like aged up. I really want to see what Shiloh and Lizzie look like when they're older. I believe there might be some element of customizability with Cove, like picking what hair he gets and stuff. I wonder if we'll get to remake our character, because I think they said we could do stuff like that. But probably should save. I don't do that nearly as much as I should. Okay. Let's go to the menu. Yes. Okay, thank you so much for joining me for this episode, everybody. This has been very nice. My throat is very sore. I need to warm up before these things, because when I end up talking for what's been an hour now, my voice gets sore. You'd think I know that, considering how much D&D I play. One of my characters, his name is Fishbone. He's a goblin.
And he has a voice like this, and so when I have to end up speaking like this for 4 hours, like straight, just like doing the character voice and not breaking, it gets a lot. So my voice is always very, very, very sore by the end of it. And I have lost my voice a little bit the day after, but it is so worth it, because, so worth it. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope you all had fun. I love you. Goodbye.